everybody, I'm David Ellefson. Welcome to the Rock Shop. Today I want to talk a little bit about practicing, because practicing tends to have this like hard, almost punishing type of overtone to it. But the truth of it is, as musicians, we all need to practice, and we all need to practice different things. Obviously, if you're a beginner, you're going to be working on learning the notes of the instrument, sometimes playing scales, just kind of learning your way around your fingerboard or your keyboard, or if you're a drummer, you're going to be learning, the nuances of your actually the basics of your instrument. As you grow to an intermediate level, you may be working on getting into learning some songs so that you can get in the band room eventually with some of your buddies and maybe start working as a band. And then, of course, as an advanced musician, you're going to be working on the details of performances, the details of recording, and you're going to be working on a lot of different things. So one of the things about practicing is it's really, I like to think of it more as a discipline rather than a punishment, because any good discipline doesn't actually feel so good while you're doing it, but the result of it is, the results, especially of practicing, show up in your playing almost right away. And a lot of times I find just spending more time with the instrument is really the key, because the more I have it in my hand, the more I'm around it, and I'm actually doing things with the instrument. I mean, it's really a tool, so the better I become more versed at using the tool, the better I am at actually using it for application. I took some piano lessons a few years ago, and there's a study book that really had laid out a nice program that, ironically, I had kind of already been doing anyway. And really what it talked about is, even if you can only set aside 15 or even 30 minutes a day to practice, rather than putting yourself on such a strict regimen, think about dividing that time up in equal thirds. Third maybe being where you're actually working on studying some passages, maybe some things that you need to work on. Take a third of it to just do some sort of free flow improvising. And then take a third of your time to actually play some things that you know and you actually enjoy. That'll actually make the practicing process enjoyable for you. And usually, especially if you're in your early days of learning, get a teacher. It's a just like any athlete who's training for for a performance. Trainers and instructors and teachers, they will always help us focus on our weaknesses rather than our tendency is to always practice our strengths and to work on our strengths. So that's usually where some of the pain comes in practicing, is having to go through things that are difficult. Always have a metronome. You can get it on pretty much any PDA device now, or if you've got, in past rock shops, we've used the Dr. Beat, which is kind of a go-to device for certainly most live and recording situations. I mean, these days you can get anything, put it on your iPhone, whatever. You can have a standalone metronome, throw it in your guitar case. But always practicing too. Again, if you're just working on scales, anything you do, just always have that there, because again, what it does is it just sets your internal clock, so that you're always thinking about time. For a long time when I was growing up, I spent a lot of time working on what my left hand was doing as far as notes, and I didn't pay enough attention to maybe what my right hand was doing as far as actually executing and really playing at pocket and time. And as soon as you start getting into bands, it's one of the things you really start to notice. Also, I like to go outside the box a little bit and get some other material. I play basically rock and roll, hard rock, heavy metal. There's a great book as a bass player, and I'm just using this as an example. Some cello suites. Cello is a instrument that's written perfectly for the bass guitar, and I just encourage anytime you can go outside of your comfort zone again, learning some funk, learning jazz. In fact, if you learn some jazz, just simple jazz studies, Autumn Leaves, page 101 of any jazz study. If you start to learn jazz, you really learn pretty much everything you need to know for any musical style at all. You learn how to read music, you learn how to read chords, you learn how to do some improvisation work. And so I just encourage anytime you can do some studies like that. And again, I don't play jazz for a living, but having a little bit of that has really helped me over the years. I also played some piano, still do play a little bit of piano, learned how to play some drums, learned how to play a variety of different things. It really helps your overall musical scope. And when you're playing in a group, all of a sudden you can relate to those other members of your band or your situation that you're playing in, and you start to listen more, because practicing is really about getting our skills down here, but it's mostly, music is a language, and just like any foreign language, you have to learn how to read it, write it, and speak it. And I did not grow up in the tablature society, although I've learned to read tablature. I grew up learning how to read actual manuscript, and then learning how to read chord charts. I'm in a lot of situations sometimes where I just have a vocal chart and it'll just be chords over top. So I think being well versed in learning how to read all of those things is very, very important. And finally, another thing that you can do, just for, if you're just sitting around even watching TV, I do not subscribe to the thing of squeezing rubber balls and trying to strengthen your hand all the time, because quite honestly, especially if you're a stringed instrument player, you spend most of your time pressing and squeezing together. One point a few years ago on the road, I actually had a problem of starting to get some carpal tunnel, and it turns out it's actually because my bass was too low and I was bending my hand too much, because of the length of my strap, so I had to raise the strap up. But what started happening is that actually I had a chiropractor come and he started doing some pressure points up here, actually, all the way up almost by the elbow. But what he had recommended to me, and I've learned here since that experience, is that I need to learn how to or spend time actually stretching my hand back the other way, strengthening the muscles of opening the hand, because as a player, I'm always squeezing. But there are a couple things you can do to just keep your agility up, keep your strength up, without stressing your hand out. And these are things you can do when you're sitting around watching football, watching TV, whatever. If you got a metronome, again, put your metronome on. And you can just do these real simple, and these are just nice, easy things, and you don't really have to think about it. Practicing to a large degree is about mentally grasping what you're doing, learning things, but then there's also the motor skill side of it. So this is just kind of a hip motor skill idea, where you can just work like this. You're just doing one fret per finger, then just shift it up, and just go back down. Again, you're not really even thinking about it too much, you're just kind of keeping your hand there, and move it up. There's another one you can do where you can just kind of work across the strings. Steve Bailey, who is a fretless 6-string bass player, and he's got a smaller hand than me, I think, but in a much wider neck. He's got a kind of a cool one where he goes across the like 1, 2, then you leave that first finger there, then you come back across the neck with 2 and 3. Now leave 2 there, and 1 is there. I can barely even do it. Then you move up. Then you walk back down again. Now, of course, you leave 1 there. Now you go back across with 2 and 3. These are just ways to just kind of, stretch that hand out. I can barely even do it. Anyway, it's kind of a brutal little exercise like that. But some things like that are more for just getting agility and opening, getting your hand just kind of stretched out and moving without having to do all these clenching of balls and rubber bands and things like that. So, but a cool thing about practicing is you can make up some of your own little exercises, you can work on some of your own things, and again, keeping in mind that we are trying to, passion of the heart of music, we're mentally trying to put it all together, as well as developing our motor skills as well. And most importantly, just spending time with the instrument, so that the more time that you spend with it, that time alone, especially developing your own skills, will show up in your performances. So that's it for today's Rock Shop. See you next time.